breath of other good news, we had Jessica Hawkins, the Brit. She is the Aston Martin driver ambassador. She signed there, I think, around 2021, was it? Yeah. So she did test their Aston Martin 2021 car around the
Through goes Hamilton! You can hear the cheers from Monza!
The mics are on and off we go.
Hi guys, my name is Winnie and welcome to the Worldspin Podcast, The Roundup. So today we're going to just do a quick run through of what is happening in the F1 world. And, first on my agenda is to get into what everyone has been talking about, bubbling on about, the F1 numbers. So motorsport.com published this graph here comparing numbers, like social media numbers from 2022 and 2023 from the period of like January to May. So, of course, you can see like there's like a gaping gap. So in terms of followers, mentions and reach. And, in the modern era of social media does dictate a lot. It dictate. I'm yet to see if it has affected the price or the trading price of F1. So since Liberty Media taking over ownership of Formula One, it's been trading publicly. So now we are privy to receive quarterly returns of Formula One. So, first of all, let's delve into that. So I think the only point I think F1 will start really thinking about the current like situation in F1 where we go weekend in, weekend out. We already have predicted the winner or how the weekend is going to pan out is maybe if it interferes with their revenues or returns. So from last year, I think the numbers I have seen is I think from 2022 they made profits in the tune of $2.1 billion, and then there was an increase coming into the 2022 season. I think a subtle increase because they made up to $2.5 billion again. So how does F1 actually make money? Like, how does Liberty Media through F1 make money? How does F1 make money? So it does make money from a lot of sponsorships, seeing as F1 is like a global sport. Like it's been watched all over the world. We even had F1 sign like a deal with ESPN for like coverage across the US. And we know F1 has really been trying to tap into the US market with like those broadcasting rights. I think they've signed with ESPN up to 2025. And we actually saw like record viewership numbers like across. Of course now they're reducing, but previously I think they have been quite comfortable numbers for F1. So I think that's one way, I know that's one way F1 makes money through sponsorship. So as in, it's like a lucrative sport for brands like to advertise because of the global reach and the global nature of F1. But now let's get into also how this, of course F1 spends money, like profits, how you calculate profits, like, the money you make minus the costs. And there's so many costs in Formula One. There's a freight of ferrying like the F1 cars, like the teams ferrying their different car parts to, I think DHL is an official partner. So, of course, there's that cost, there's like the driver salaries, there's hospitality, administrative costs. Like, for example, you see, I hear like setting up the Las Vegas trip. We're going to Las Vegas, I think, in a few weeks. It's been like mad expensive. And I think talking F1 numbers, I think they really have tried to tap into the US market. But I know they're struggling because of course it's not been a very entertaining season now, has it? But then I know we keep on saying, it's boring, but we still tune in like weekend in, weekend out to watch, Simply Lovely, Max Verstappen take the checkered flag. So anyway, so I think we have been seeing a lot of arguments on, like, I think online with people saying and blaming it on Red Bull. I don't think that's like a stance I would take. Like, I am a Mercedes fan, I am a Lewis Hamilton fan, but I don't think it's a problem for Red Bull that like Formula One is not delivering like maybe the action that we think we should be getting. Because for one, I think I mean, one, they got their regulations right. I mean, remember again, of course, they got the cost cap breach in like 2021. The repercussions weren't as as come on, this is like a slap on the wrist. Come on, like it wasn't that stringent. And then like that's why I think FIA coming into 2023 now, like with the 2022 season, seeing that now if you had gone over your budget, they were going to have like some sporting regulations for it to actually make sense. Like for you not to be, you know, sporting regulations, that means either losing out points and stuff like that. So I think now that would be more of a pinch to the teams. So, but then 2022 new regulations, Red Bull got it right, and they did, and they've gotten it right like um in every aspect. Like they have a good contract that performs all round, apart from like maybe that anomaly we had in Singapore, and them winning so dominantly, they have it, they got it right. The pit stops are good, their strategy is like on par with their car. They have like they have this driver in Max Verstappen who's not like, you know, he's relentless. Like he knows he has to win, and for him, like he has to win. So I don't know. So for one, I would want. I mean, of course, I think it's something we can debate about, but I don't think we should. I think the blame should not be on Red Bull, because again, remember their success has been built on. We don't even have a proper like number two, like the second fastest team on the grid at the moment, because I think at the start of the season, Aston Martins, they started like on such a high and then dwindled, and then you had Mercedes. Mercedes is just like it's just somewhere, like it's, I don't even know how we are P2, but I mean Lewis has been driving the hell out of those cars, and you know, placing some number of podiums, and you know, George Russell. And then we have McLaren now after the upgrades. Now they're running very nicely with the pairing of Piastri and Norris. So I think again the success, Red Bull did take the win in Japan. They took the constructors, their sixth constructors, and they have been so dominant, like coming from 2022 to 2023. Remember again in 2022 at the start of the season, they had reliability issues, and I think that is something that has always ailed Red Bull. Like they always had reliability issues. Like, but this is 2023. There has been no retirement on reliability issues, none. So that means their success is built on them having a very good car. They have Max Verstappen in the car. They have very talented engineers on the pit wall, strategy calls, a very swift, experienced pit crew that delivers weekend in, weekend out with, you know, and again, remember now we have like the inconsistent second fastest team. So that means again, there's not so much challenge coming to Red Bull. So even if they were to have like an off weekend, or like a weekend where like they don't get things right, strategy pit stop, which like is rare like in this 2023 season, that means there's no one to pick up the slab, or like take up, you know, take it up and like, you know, let's say like let's deliver. So I mean, yeah, we will bash them, we will say, but I don't think it's fair enough to say like, oh yeah, the Verstappen effect or whatever. I mean, yeah, of course he does. There's some lackluster in the way he wins, like, you know, I mean, yes, we get it, but I don't think it's a problem for Red Bull, because again, the other teams need to step up. There are like other 9 teams on the grid that need to look at, but I think these things will only start to affect them if maybe their revenues are affected. Then maybe they might, like, you know, think about it. Because again, as we've said, like I think F1 is, I mean, it's still at its core, it's still a business. Like they have to make profit. And as we said, like the profits are like, you know, the cost of investment, and cost of investment in terms of, I think we've talked about the freight, the ferrying of the car parts from one country to another. We have driver salaries, we have administrative costs, as we've said, like the, you know, the whole Las Vegas trip costing like, you know, a bunch of cash. And I think we have so many races, and I think we have like, we 24 races this year. Like it's everywhere, and I still, like, personally, I will still tune in and watch F1 because it's still some battles I'm interested in, and whatever. But what can we really say can be done? Like, as in, so what happens? Do we clamp down on Red Bull development, or like, is it other teams to take up the slack? Like, put in the work as well. Like, try. I know they are working, but then now they need to work even harder to get to Red Bull, because I don't think I thought maybe by the last maybe 6 races of the year, at least some teams would be, taking the fight to Red Bull. Like, that is what normally happens. Like in 2020, remember, coming into 2021, we had Max from 2020, Red Bull like performing very nicely coming into 2021. I thought like that would be like the case as well, but that doesn't seem to be happening. But we had, I think we had this weekend. I saw Lewis. I think we had like a 2 week break, and I saw Lewis was like at Brackley. That confirmed that they are really working on the W15, and I hope and I believe that maybe we will different teams. McLaren, I'm positive about them. I love the progress they are on. They will continue, try to just chip at that, the gap that the Red Bulls have created. So I do not think it's not relatively. I do not think that Red Bull are to blame for that. Maybe, I mean, the lack, the dwindling numbers of social media. So what do we want them to do? To stop racing, or to stop being like, that's their whole mandate of being in F1, to build a first car, come here, be first. And I think for them, this is, for them, they are happy. They're at the peak of their careers. They're different, individuals who are different heads of different departments that they, peak because they're performing like at that GOAT mindset. So anyway, I think that's okay. Again, that's like a whole array of, other views that could come in from people as well. So I think the other thing that I wanted to, I think, get into was, I think the other news I did see, like, was Rodin. Rodin is like the shareholder, a major shareholder in the Rodin Culling. Like, I think they have like heavy presence in Formula 2, and Formula 2 is like, Formula 2 is a feeder series for F1. So they came out, I think the chairman, or like I think the majority shareholder at Rodin. Rodin is a New Zealand car manufacturer. So they had placed, I think FIA is receiving bids for applications for teams to be part of F1 for the 2025, 2026, 2027 season. So there was a call for the different people who are interested in getting into F1 to place their bids. And we had like the chairman come out and say that their bid was rejected by FIA. And now that was not even the only thing. So apparently he said they had like a seat reserved for like a female driver, and they said they had reserved the seat for Chadwick. Chadwick is the W series. Like, W series was like our all women series that used to run. I think it just ran for like 2 years and then died off. Was it 2 years or 3? I'm not very sure. But she won like all through when W series ran. Chadwick won. Like, she's a Brit racer, a Brit female racer. I do not know. I mean, of course, that was exciting to know that they had like a seat reserved, but I don't know how they were going to go about. She doesn't have like a super license, and we will get into the super license later, explaining how how drivers get to drive in Formula 1. I think, okay, now fun fact. I think before, I think the super license, everyone used to just I think that is like in the 70s, 90s, like and I think there's one of the bizarre series we've done, like, was it Monaco 1982? Actually, the other interesting thing was that there were so many people who had signed up to race around Monaco that they had to do a lot of qualifying, just because, again, around Monaco, you cannot race more than 20 cars. Because, again, remember, it's a street circuit, it's quite narrow, and it cannot, afford to have more than 20 cars on track. So they had to go qualifying. Like, there were so many people. I think Formula 1 was so random then. Like, it's madness. Like, I could just wake up because I have money and I feel like I need to drive again around Monaco. And remember, we said Monaco is like very prestigious. It forms part of the Triple Crown of motorsport. So you went to be part of it, even though like you can win it, like try to win it. So if I had cash, I would just sign up for that Grand Prix and just, drive. So we had so many cars in that Grand Prix, but yeah, they could not all race. So we had like, you see the way we have qualifying? So we had like a pre-qualifying where they were going eliminating people, because there was so many people who had signed up for that Grand Prix. So anyway, so I don't know how they were going to go about the super license for Chadwick. Yeah. So apparently, then he said that Andretti, Andretti Global, racing had like their bid was accepted. But then again, I do not know because after FIA like goes through the applications, now it recommends them to F1 for them to decide. We also have another, I think, team that's interested is High Tech. It's run by, I think it's High Tech. I think it's a British motor racing like company as well. It's backed by this billionaire, a Kazakh billionaire as well. So, and then there's also, by the way, like the fact if FIA like does receive the applications and then like recommend them to F1. So there's this like agreement called the Concord Agreement. I think we've mentioned it in one of our episodes as well. It's like a revenue sharing like agreement for the different teams, and also like there's this clause that says like a new team has to come into the when you sign into Formula One like as a new team. Like for example, if we got Andretti coming into F1 in maybe 2025 or whatever, they pay like a fee at $200 million. That's I think shared across the teams that are already there, so that now they can share the revenue, the broadcasting revenues or whatever from the first year. So previously, you used to come and then not make money, I think, for the first 2 years you're in F1, like as a team, from like the revenue that the teams share. Yeah, so that's interesting. Like let's see how that pans out. You see, we're going to have like an 11th constructor on the grade. Let's see. Okay. Let's see how that, works out. So I think the other news is McLaren. Like McLaren are on a very good very good trajectory. Like the upgrades are working, the drivers are comfortable, and then we also had Piastri. I am a big Piastri fan, and I know he's going to win races. I mean, he's been like a rookie on fire. His starts are like, like he's such a star. Yeah. So I think I'll go back to Japanese. So we had a lot like heavy presence of Toyota at the McLaren garage. We even had the Toyota chairman Akio Toyoda at the McLaren garage. So the thing is, so apparently, McLaren were running their wind tunnel like at Cologne, one of Toyota's I think wind tunnel. They didn't have theirs. So wind tunnel is where like they test their different parts. Like you see the way we can create something, but we need to test it before. Like now the wind tunnel time before you go on track, you try to see how your different car parts behave or interact with with simulated track conditions. So that's wind tunnel, and that's why we see even like right now with wind tunnel time, like the higher you place, the less hours you get. The lower you place, like as a constructor, then you get more wind tunnel. So McLaren moved their wind tunnel operations now to walking. So we thought maybe by then that they were terminating their whole partnership with Toyota, but we had Harikawa. They signed like a reserve driver. This Japanese driver, he's also like I think a Toyota driver as well. Like he's driven for Toyota. He's a Le Mans winner. Like he's won in Le Mans. I don't know 2020. I am not very sure. He won with Toyota. So he's been signed as a reserve driver, development driver for McLaren. And I mean, of course, they did say it's not like a Toyota thing, but it's just, a driver thing. It's something that they've always wanted for Harikawa to get into, like the development part of F1. And so apparently there are plans to have him test the McLaren car driven in 2021. And in that same breath of other good news, we had Jessica Hawkins, the Brit. She is the Aston Martin driver ambassador. She was signed there, I think, around 2021, was it? Yeah. So she did test their Aston Martin 2021 car around the Hungaroring. Yeah, so and it was so nice to see. I mean, it's the first time in like 5 years, like since 2018, that we've seen like a woman drive a test a Formula One car, and it's nice to actually see it. So now I don't know what happens after, because she'd prepped for it. It was a big moment for her as well. Like, she had been on the sim from last year, getting herself ready to race the Formula One car. to test the Formula One car, and it was like very nice to see it. I mean, I'm just going to focus on the positives. Like that is like a good development. I mean, maybe now we can see her in more active reserve driver roles. Like let's see her out in a free practice session, because I mean, again, the constructors are required to run like their new drivers, like their reserve drivers in the different practice sessions, and also it can help in you accumulating your super license points. So it was nice to see her out. I don't think we can compare, like I know people were asking for like the track times she did, but then again I'm like, remember, this is a 2021 car, like, and this is not a track that maybe that was being raced on, so I don't think the times would be fair. I don't think it would be like a very fair comparison to if they release that data to people. But Aston Martin did report that the numbers were, they were as expected, and she excelled at the test, and it's like so nice to watch it and see it. So it gives us hope that maybe we will get to see more, not more, but at least like a proper racing Formula One female driver. Yeah, so that is a good roundup from me. And I hope you picked a thing or two. Just tell me. I think we can just continue this debate on the F1 numbers and everything in our comments. So thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you for the Qatar debrief. Bye.